All right, now we're going to look at some of the same examples that we did in the last one, but we're going to identify the level of measure for each of the different forms of data. All right, so let's look at number one. All right, now since gender is a name, and we did say before that it's qualitative data, it is a name, and names are nominal. All right, let's look at two, the time to run a mile. All right, so when looking at this, first of all, ordinal will always refer to a ranking. So the time is not really a ranking. Now, if we were to talk about first, second, or third place in running a mile, that would be a ranking. But now we're just talking about the time. So the question is it ratio or is it interval? So here's kind of your key. If 0 means something significant from all the other times, then we call it ratio. And if we can add times together, for example, it would make sense to add time, then that's ratio. So in this instance, 0 time means there isn't any time. And of course, it wouldn't make any sense for somebody to run a mile in 0 time, but 0 time does mean something for us. So this is ratio, and we can add time to previous times. So we can do calculations with the time. So it makes it ratio. 3, number of soccer goals scored. Well, again, it means something to have 0 soccer goals scored. That is an absence of goals scored. So this is, again, ratio. Number 4, political preference, Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, whatever it might be, that is a name, qualitative piece of data, so it's nominal. All right, distance to drive to work. Well, it might be that work is 0 miles away, and that 0 actually signifies a lack of miles. So again, this one turns out to be ratio. All right, number of children. Well, again, 0 would signify having no children, so it does make sense to have 0 children, the absence of children, so this is ratio. All right, number 7, our tricky one that we saw before. We said that a social security number was an identification. It really is a way of naming an individual. And so therefore it was qualitative data. It was not numerical in its nature, in the sense that it's not quantitative. So, since it's a name, it is actually nominal. All right, number 8, ranking of all college football teams. So we're deciding whether someone ranks as first, second, third, etc. A ranking is always ordinal. All right, and then our last one, temperature measured in Fahrenheit. Well, let's think about 0 in this scenario. 0 degrees is not the absence of temperature. It is simply a point that has to do with the freezing value of water, when water freezes. Okay, so really 0 degrees and 1 degrees are very close to being the same thing. 0 is not the absence of temperature, and therefore this we consider to be interval. And we'll see that the most often when dealing with temperature, that interval is going to be what we get for temperature. Very rarely are we going to have much data other than temperature that tends to be interval.